Three men. Three testosterone-driven males on the adventure of a lifetime. Three bikes. Three polished, lean, mean cycling machines. One spectacular country. Iceland. Very wild and very impressive. 1400 of arduous cycling through the aforementioned spectacular country over 14 days, 14 long and demanding days. This is Fire and Ice 1400k 2006. The cycling, the horses, the long stretches of winding road, the steep mountain passes, one after the other, the waterfalls, the mountains, even more mountains, the sheer exhaustion and the need for rest. This didn't happen overnight. To find out how this all began, we have to go back to the beginning. In December 2005. In order to prepare adequately for this incredible challenge, it was necessary to become acquainted with the geography, topology, geology and language of this spectacular country known as Iceland. This would prove to be no mean task. However, as I conducted our research, I became aware of an inner voice struggling to talk to me. It was my conscience.
Angus, this is your conscience speaking. Why not, since you're doing this holiday, collect money for charity? A charity like Maggie's Highland in Inverness.
I'll do that.
Go on.
Yeah. Okay.
Do it for your conscience sake.
Despite my conscience sounding like Tony Blair at his most insincere, I decided to take his advice and use this opportunity to raise money for Maggie's Highland, the cancer care charity. As the saying goes, charity begins at home. So I focused on my hometown, or city as it gets called these days, of Inverness to locate this Maggie's centre. The centre, situated in the grounds of Reganmore Hospital, is one of the city's most distinctive buildings. Designed by the prestigious architectural firm Page and Park of Glasgow, the centre is a showcase of innovative planning and construction. The founder of Maggie's Centres, Maggie Keswick-Jenks, the late wife of renowned architectural critic Charles Jenks, wanted cancer patients to have somewhere to go to, outside the more clinical confines of hospital wards, which would be pleasant and harmonious, a place where they could go to relax and unwind. Recently, the building lifted the Andrew Doolin Best Building in Scotland Award 2006, presented by the Royal Incorporation of Architects in Scotland. It has picked up a clutch of other accolades as well, including the Scottish Design Award and an award from the Royal Institute of British Architects. I asked the centre coordinator, John Richmond, how the centre was funded.
We're 100% charity. We got about a third of the capital costs of the building from the lottery fund, but everything else apart from that and our year-to-year running costs come from donations, fundraising events, etc., etc.
Of course, it is essential that charitable giving continues for Maggie's, otherwise its future can become uncertain.
So far we've been okay, but it's as with any other charity. I think you don't know from year to year how generous people are going to be. So we rely very much on the local community for a proportion of it, but we also have a national fundraising and events team who do bigger events, like the mountain bike and hike that was on Highland.
Right, yeah, and the crew thing.
And we do a number of charity treks to various places throughout the world, because it's a good way for people to actually raise the money. Very, very hard work, but it's a bit more, I suppose, exciting than abseiling or the kind of other things that people do for fundraising.
Yeah.
The interior of the building is bright and attractive. It is a building that speaks of aspiration and healing, and in doing so also speaks of humanity. There is no let up in the search for funding at Maggie's. It is a constant feature of life behind the scenes. So, the money is vitally important, of course, but Maggie's is much more than money. It is about providing assistance to sufferers of cancer. So, what sort of assistance does it offer?
We are a drop-in centre, and we're here for anybody affected by cancer. So it's not just the people with it, it's the friends and family of people with it, it's staff who look after people with it, or in some cases it's just somebody who's seen something on the news and has a question about cancer or treatment or anything else around the subject. A very informal approach we take. You don't need permission, you don't need a referral letter, you don't need an appointment, you just walk in the door. And we can help with anything that people come in with. We might not be able to help people directly, but we have a lot of contacts in the hospital, out in the community, etc., where if we can't deal with it ourselves, then we can find somebody, hopefully, who can.
Our destination is Iceland, an island at the brunt of the North Atlantic Drift, about 20% larger than Scotland. Iceland is home to the largest glacier in Europe. Its capital, Reykjavik, is the latest trendy weekend getaway for aspiring yuppies. And it also hosts the world's most famous geothermal spa. If you're a whale of puffin, however, avoid Iceland. Icelanders consider their meat to be a delicacy. So, early in the morning on Monday the 24th of July, we were all packed and ready for off at 4 a.m. First stop, Glasgow Airport to catch the 11 AM flight to Keflavik in Iceland. So we dismantled our bikes, packed them and got them on the plane for Keflavik. Here we are at Keflavik. So Graham, what have you got to say for yourself?
This is Keflavik. I'm still deaf in my right ear.
Are you?
Yeah. Completely deaf. It's affecting my balance as well.
We set up camp in Keflavik, headed into the town for supplies, and had a late supper of burger and chips in an American-style diner before settling down for the night.
Say hello there. Kenny after his hamburger and chips. A very happy man.
Super size me.
Feeling the burger bar again. Oh, that's nice. It's good morning, Graham.
That's my lucky yellow brick.
Who gave you that, Magnus?
He stuffed it into my pannier.
Did he? Oh well. Should keep it as a memento.
The following morning, we had a look at the map and finalised our route before packing up and heading off.
You can put some jerky sort of stuff in it just as
Like some French Nouveau Cinema.
yeah, put it in black and white.
Do some Jean-Luc Godard jump cuts.
That's right.
You could be Jean-Paul Belmondo with the Galois sticking out of your mouth at a weird angle.
Since the road to Reykjavik is a potential death trap, we had decided to make our start from Borgarnes, 30 miles north of Reykjavik. This involved a bus from Keflavik to Reykjavik and a connection from Reykjavik to Borgarnes. Unfortunately, this was to take us most of the day, much of it spent in Reykjavik bus station.
Graham stuffing his face. Icelandic chips. Cod flavoured chips. Fantastic.
Chips. Be good if they were prawn.
Cod flavoured beef burger.
Possibly into a beef burger. Ugh, how disgusting. What a greedy pig.
Kenny, why aren't you cycling?
You look like true Icelanders if you understand every word. It's upside down.
finally reached Burgarness on Tuesday evening. So far, the weather had been very wet, but thankfully it had already lifted by the time we had prepared to start our cycle towards the Snæfellsnes Peninsula, and a steady breeze was beginning to dry up the damp conditions.
A few brief words before you embark on this piece of nonsense.
I don't know. Got my punch for repair kit.
Oh no. Must have punch for repair kit. Okay. The Furnace Challenge 1400k 2006.
Side of the road.
The low cloud which had obscured any visibility of the surrounding countryside was rapidly lifting, and we were slowly beginning to see the mountain ranges appearing through the mists. Despite almost losing Graham to Icelandic traffic, we managed to steer a course onto the peninsula.
Your second day on the challenge, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, how many new different kinds of body odours will I produce this year?
Yes, so you're developing body odours.
New ones.
New ones,
New ones, that's the objective.
yes. So
Ireland
you're in the research and development of body odours.
Ireland was good because I got 3. I think Kenny got 5.
5 different body
There's
odours.
5 new different body
Good
odours.
grief.
But this year I'm hoping for maybe 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
3 would be good.
Do you consider that a success?
That would be an achievement worthy of my place in the pantheon of olfactory
Odour manufacturers. Thank you. Very interesting.
Snæfellsnes forms a backdrop to many Icelandic sagas, which in turn were highly influential on the works of Tolkien, such as Lord of the Rings. And possibly due to the geothermal element in Icelandic geology, is also the starting point for Jules Verne's journey to the centre of the Earth. Local folklore is full of legends of witches and wizards. It certainly had a desolate primeval feel to the place. Initially, our route skirted the south side of the peninsula, a good low-lying coastal road which was a pleasant and steady cycle. But the road deteriorated, and we were faced with our first mountain pass towards Grundarfjörður.
It's quite highly in the Good Bothy guide.
Does it?
Yeah.
That's not a good bothy guide. I didn't know there was.
You'd certainly get maybe a dozen people in here quite comfortably.
So how did you find the pass?
I took a right at Olesvik and headed straight on up the hill. And,
Are you knackered?
reasonably so.
What about you, Graham?
Oh, it's a doddle. It was quite easy. Compared to other passes we'll be doing, this was really, really easy.
You mean there's worse than that? No way.
Compared compared to one of the climbs we did last year, this was pretty straightforward.
Well, the weather was okay.
Yeah. The weather was actually quite helpful. It was a really welcome cool breeze.
Yeah. This is my shorts.
I was now becoming increasingly aware that this challenge was going to be, well, challenging. As I settled down for a second night's sleep at Grundarfjörður, I dreamt of Maggie's Highland back in Inverness. I met a remarkable man called Bill Gregory, a Londoner who, after retiring from many years' service with the BBC and sadly becoming a widower, decided to make a new life for himself in Scotland. Bill is clear proof that it is possible to live well through some of the worst afflictions that life can throw at humanity. He is both positive and active. He attends regular sessions at a local gym, is a keen ballroom dancer, and is clearly glowing with contentment. His example is impressive to say the least.
And then I decided that I'd come up and move up. In fact, when I told my sister-in-law I was going to move up to Scotland, she didn't believe me, because I told her the Christmas before I moved up. I said, well, I'm going to sell my house and move up. Anyway, when I got home, she phoned me, she said, you weren't serious, were you? I said, of course I was, you know.
But you've had no regrets?
No, I've never regretted. No, in fact, I don't like being away from the place very long, you know. And so I just, I went down and saw my brother last year, and I hadn't been down for years. I just stayed down for a week and then I had to get back because, I mean, there's so many things I do up here and I'm involved with. Well, I was involved in the Maggie Centre, for instance.
Yeah.
In my first year I was a volunteer.
So you're a volunteer here now?
Yeah, well what happened was, as I say, I was having treatment and I came over.
When did the illness begin? When did you...
Well, it was in 2005 I had treatment. I mean, I was diagnosed in 2004 with cancer. But as I said, that year I had a heart attack in February, the stroke in April, and in May they diagnosed cancer. Because I remember seeing a consultant after I'd been diagnosed with cancer.
So it came in
Dr. Stephen it was. And he treated me for both the heart attack and the stroke. And so anyway, I was at the clinic one day, you know, it was a very usual checkup. And I said to him, you know, we were talking, so I said to him, well, I said, I've had a heart attack, as you know, I've had a stroke, as you know. I said, and now they diagnosed cancer. I was on tablets first, and then they put me on injections. Solidex was the injection every 3 months. And so the following, I think it was February, March, I think they started. Well, I'd seen a consultant, they did a CT scan and whatever, and then they recommended. They don't tell you you should have it. They just say, if you have radiotherapy, it will kill the growth, because it's cancerous. But if you can stay on the injections, but all it would do, it would keep the cancer from spreading and from growing, but it won't get rid of it. So the consultant, Dr. Willis, he said, it's up to you which you have. So I said, well, if it's going to get rid of the growth, then I'll have to use radiotherapy. So then you go through the tests and whatever, and the points they're going to pump the X-ray or the equipment at, you know, to kill it. And then I had 6.5 weeks of radiotherapy, and it's 5 days a week, no weekend, your weekend.
How do you feel when you get
Well,
told that you've got cancer? I mean, how did you feel after
Well, I thought-
a stroke and a heart attack?
Well, the thing was, I thought myself, the worst thing I think I had was the stroke.
Yeah.
And I thought myself, if I can survive that, because I mean, that was horrendous as far as my...
Physically speaking, it must
Yeah.
have been horrendous.
It was horrendous. I mean, and that's why I thought myself, well, if I can survive the stroke, I can survive the cancer.
I suppose in prostate cancer you don't often feel pain. I mean,
No, I mean, as I say, I mean,
it's a psychological impact of being told you've
well,
got cancer.
as I say, the stroke was really. I mean, and the thing was, I don't know whether it was the fact that my brother, he'd been diagnosed. He's a year and a bit older than me, and he'd been diagnosed with cancer. But the thing was, and prostate cancer as well, because they do say it can be family.
Was is your brother still alive?
Oh yeah. Well, the thing was about he had prostate cancer, but they didn't give him any treatment at all.
Right.
They kept an eye on it. It's that you see the consultant every 2 or 3 months, and they said, we're not going to treat it yet. We're just going to see how it goes. Well, believe it or not, about a year after he was diagnosed with it, he saw the consultant. It'd gone.
Right.
No treatment at all, not injections or anything. And but anyway, with me it was they did with the scans they did feel that it was I've got to get rid of it, you know.
Yeah.
And so I mean, as I say, I didn't feel nowhere near as.
You didn't feel alarm or.
No, I mean to me it was just. I mean, I'm not being blasé about it, but it just felt myself. The stroke was the most horrendous thing, and I thought if I can survive that, I can survive
So
it.
maybe having gone through that,
Yeah.
you maybe that sort of armed you slightly for what was.
Well, I think that's what it did. It prepared me for something that was going to be far worse, in as much as it's more life-threatening.
Yeah.
Well, as I say, that was the perception I had of cancer then, was the fact that you were dead, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people do feel that.
So, the second day of our expedition.
Day 2.
Any comments,
Yes.
Mr. Cameron?
Well, as you see from our map, we're here. Jerry is over here. My objective, get to Jerry and shoot him. Back to dear old Blighty.
Yes.
As the challenge was progressing, the mental strains were rapidly becoming evident. Kenny was convinced he was a British Army captain. Graham was developing an obsession with his unsettled stomach. And I was convinced there were trolls watching over us from the hills. But rock formations in Iceland tend to have that effect on people.
Third day, about to begin. Captain Cameron, what are your comments?
The sun is shining today, as we expected. Beautiful summer's morning. 2.5 days without a town or a shop coming up, so we're well stocked up. Chocolate, slugs, bits of grass.
Plenty of protein and energy.
Stomachs are bearing up quite well, reasonably.
Apart from Graham's, his stomach is not bearing up. So, Sergeant Graham, your thoughts?
My thoughts are some sort of crusty cheeseburger from the delicatessen just across the road.
Well, you want one?
Yeah.
Is that what you feel like just now with the dodgy stomach?
I feel like my stomach, despite having breakfast, that my stomach is empty.
Alright.
And I'll need to basically fill it.
And
It'll be something to do with going to the toilet 10 times.
right, yes. Too much information.
As we left the peninsula and crossed the isthmus into the West Fjords, a brief period of respite from steep climbs, the weather continued to improve. Iceland, contrary to its name, is neither icy nor barren, but actually reasonably mild and green, in summer at least. Icelandic infrastructure, however, remains underdeveloped in many parts. Many of the island's roads are unpaved and heavy going on a bike. This was even more so in the West Fjords. As we moved further into the West Fjords, the hills got steeper, the roads got worse, the cycling got harder, and we were all getting steadily more fatigued as time wore on. Nevertheless, our bodies gradually adjusted to the daily routine and rhythm of the challenge.
Your comments on the expedition so far?
Oh, pretty easy so far.
What?
Only a few hills, perfect weather.
Few hills?
Climb.
You mad?
Yes.
Oh, there's another critter.
Despite the sheer effort on covering a distance of between 80 to 90 miles per day, the exercise and the experience were both enjoyable. And so far anyway, none of us had even so much as attempted to murder the others. Yet. Fortunately, we were able to enjoy some brief rest in the occasional bothy. These offer shelter from Iceland's constant wind, and we could brew up some tea or a hot meal.
In the bothy, in the middle of nowhere, trying to eat, stock up, carbo load, whatever you want to call it. How did you find that latest hill, Kenny?
Well, I turned left at Mullilor, and there it was. Another hill.
Yet another.
Yeah, muscles are getting stronger.
Did you cycle all the way up?
No.
Just get a sort of shot of this bottom from the outside. It's almost like one of these safety vessels you see on the strap to the side of oil rigs, just waiting to be dumped into the water.
Should have got a photo of the last one.
I'll do that.
It's quite cool.
I did?
Did you?
Yeah.
Late one evening, Kenny, gripped by delirium, attempted suicide by drowning himself in the icy Atlantic waters. Was he just going for a paddle? It was difficult to tell. Our first week effectively over, the weather continued to improve. Indeed, it actually became quite warm, touching 21 degrees centigrade at times, with frequent sunshine breaking through the cloud. I've just set up camp. Last night I went to the bothy, which was our goal for the night. I got there expecting the others to turn up an hour and a half later or so. They never turned up. I had the most uncomfortable night. I had to sleep on basically a bench, carry mat on the bench, sleeping bag, and I hardly got any sleep. So I've done about 100 miles today, and I've just pitched tent. It's actually only 6:45 at night, but I'm fairly tired. What I want to do is get very good sleep and get up early in the morning and basically do at least another 100 miles tomorrow, if not more, because I want to get to Borgarnes by Friday evening at the very latest, because there's a problem with buses and stuff. Very tiring work on the bike. Also got attacked by I think they were Arctic terns. They were pecking at my head, and it's just a very wild place. This is a titanic coastline which just takes ages to get round. But once I hit the main road to Borgarnes, which is still a very long road, it's fairly straight, thankfully. So I'm hoping that I'll knock it off in the next couple of days. That's my report. Good night. Now on my own and beginning to suffer the effects of saddle soreness, I decided to press onwards to the finish. Kenny and Graham had evidently fallen behind, though I couldn't guess how far behind. Nevertheless, the weather was very warm and pleasant, so I wasn't too disappointed, despite the loneliness. I was now past the most rugged terrain of the West Fjords and heading southwards. In the distance I could see the northwest corner of Iceland and the top of the Dranga Glacier.
Hello there. Day 8, I'm being buzzed by flies here. I'm on the top of a kind of hill, plateau. I think it's the last serious hill before we get back. I'm still on my own. The others, I don't know where they are. I bunked down early last night, as I said, in the hope that they might turn up maybe 2-3 hours later. They never turned up, so I presume they're well behind now. I'm heading into Holmsvik. It's been a great day, very sunny, lovely really, but these flies have just been bugging me all the way up this hill. It's horrible.
Although the landscape looked cold, the air was close and balmy. Iceland, like anywhere else, is experiencing the effects of global warming. Not so long ago, even this area would have been covered in snow during the summer. It was as close as I'd ever been to the Arctic Circle, some 40 kilometres away. Only it didn't feel remotely Arctic at all. As I laid my weary head down to rest after yet another day's demanding cycle, I dreamt once again of Maggie's. I met with Fiona McRae, the centre's fundraiser. Fiona's job is to ensure that Maggie's Highland continues to operate as normal. It's a hard and difficult task. The main question I had to ask is why people should give money to Maggie's Highland.
To hear.
Yeah.
I think a big attraction for giving money to Maggie's here is that the money that's raised here stays in the Highlands. We're not raising money for Glasgow, Edinburgh or for down south. So that's got quite a good attraction. with the centre now being open and people using it, it also has a knock-on effect. People go out there and they've been in, they've used the services, they go out and talk about what Maggie's done and how it's helped them. And then when people are thinking about doing something for charity, that Maggie's is in their mind. So it's a huge help having the centre open. And getting people in and also to see the centre and just talk about what the services that we offer. Because the statistics are now that 1 in 3 are going to get cancer. So it's kind of
quite harsh
statistics. Yeah. And somewhere along the line, most people are going to need it at some stage, whether they are a person with cancer or their family, friends, or everyone knows. Well, most people know someone that's been affected by cancer as well.
Fiona was right. The vast majority of people are either directly or indirectly affected by cancer sometime in their lives. Both my parents and my sister have died from cancer in recent years, and the time may come when I myself may personally benefit from a place like Maggie's. And the time may come when you will too.
But it's the kind of thing that needs constant
input.
Yeah.
We don't get any statutory money, so we have to raise everything through fundraising.
Yeah, but do you think some people might, there's fundraising activities going on all the time for different charities. How do you keep people, giving? It's because people get weary of things, And
I think it's always trying to think of, something new. It's like sponsored things, there's loads of sponsored things, and if you can think up something different and you're sponsored, like doing the Friday nights, something different, isn't it? It's not your normal sort of sponsored walk around Inverness or something.
If you could sum up Maggie's, how would you sum it up in that sort of few words?
It's somewhere homely. Well, what I was thinking was quite nice is, there's not a few words, but a lady wrote on a sort of form, questionnaire form, and she wrote it was a place just to be. And I think that was quite something Maggie's done quite nicely. It's a place just to come and be whatever you want. But it's like homely. It's calm. I don't know. It's just.
It works well.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. It fulfills the purpose for what it was set up for.
Yeah.
From the outside, Maggie's Highland itself almost demands an answer from passers-by. In many respects, it's an unusual, sometimes controversial building. That is no accident. If it solicits a response, it works. My last question to Fiona was this: why is it so difficult to raise funds for Maggie's? I probably knew the answer to this already. I just wanted to hear someone else say it.
Just trying to get things organised and trying to tie in, sort of the local corporates up here and companies.
Yeah, I've written to a few local corporates and not had any reply. Do you find them quite difficult to get them to reply to? Yeah, why do you think that is? Just because they're so impersonal?
Yeah, and again, it's getting the right person, isn't it? You write the letter and you write it to the chief or the head person, and sometimes they may never see it. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Through a secretary or something.
And then you may get if you get it to the secretary where they've had some experience of Maggie's, or somewhere along the line someone recognises the name. It's sometimes it's luck just getting the person that thinks, Maggie's, my friend used that, or I know somebody who used that and that's a good charity. And we are very new. Maggie's in Inverness has only been open for just over a year, so it's still a very new charity. And Maggie's in the hole's only going for 10 years. So we're all still very, very new up here. And
do you think that's because people might not understand what it's about? It's not a hospice, and it's not a hospital, or it's not a kind of one of the more obvious kind of charities.
Finally, I found myself in the last leg of this incredible Icelandic journey. Now smelling like a skunk with particularly bad BO, and sporting a swagger that would have put John Wayne to shame, I finally reached Iceland's main circular road, with only 100 kilometres to go. In the distance I could see the mountain range that frowned down upon Borgarnes. The anticipation was almost overwhelming. I envisaged a campsite with on-site facilities and a night of feasting and deep slumber in a cosy tent. I'd done it. I was ecstatic.
Good morning. Well, I'm back. Got back to Borgarnes at about 5 last night. Came in as soon as I set up my tent. It started bucketing, so I was really glad to get back and not have to do any cycling in the rain. I mean, that was the whole course, 9 days basically. I think I'm about a day and a half ahead of the rest. I think they'll be in either late tonight or tomorrow morning. I don't know. But I'm just so glad to be back. The last 30 miles were absolute torture. I was saddle sore. I was just exhausted. It really is a challenge. I mean, it's a lot worse than I thought it would be. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be. I thought it might have been, quite demanding, but it was really demanding. I mean, it's a very, very tiring cycle, that. So anyway, got in, put up the tent, went for a shave, a scrub, had a shower, got changed, and I slept like a baby. Oh, I slept like a baby last night. Had something to eat. Feel brand new. And just going to enjoy the rest of the weekend because I've got until Monday when the flight goes home. So that's a challenge that I'm done with. Feeling good, feeling positive. Yeah. Just very happy that I've done it.
Yeah, that's it. I'm in the middle of the farm toilet. Sometimes used as a panel for the river.
I like the water feature.
Otherwise for campers. Private. And,
Well ventilated.
yeah. Don't flash, you just pull a rock over it for the next person to come along and pull that rock back over again and realise that somebody else has been there.
The new technical system was developed. we were keeping you awake with our flatulent. Yeah. It's okay when they've got foam mattresses, but
Yeah, it's very selfish of them to provide bothies without foam mattresses and
running water in
fridges
a toilet and a fridge and a satellite television. It was most unkind of them.
So what do you think, Mr. Shackleton?
I use Full of Shave. I enjoyed it so much I bought the company.
Or rather, you don't use Full of Shave.
I don't use Full of Shave.
I don't like Full of
buy the
Shave.
company.
Ransom.
Well, this is the splendid surroundings of the Keflavik Airport in Tecumseh. Timber frame building.
How much money have you got left?
No insulation, no money.
Tell you exactly how much I've got left. I've got 130 kroners, which is worth about 30 pence in British money. Curses on them.
Tell us what happened again.
I hate Arctic terns. I got attacked by Arctic terns. They pecked my head and drew blood. Curses on them.
They're very rare in Scotland, but in Iceland they're a pest.
Oh, absolutely.
Like squirrels.
Are squirrels a pest in Scotland?
They are when they run out in front of you.
On the bike?
Yeah.
When they fly up in the air, they
quite
peck your
a
head.
mess.
Squirrels can be very annoying.
It's when they attack you and dig their claws into you and bite your nose. Mr. Cameron.
Yes, Mr. McKeever.
Any comments at the end of this fine expedition?
Not good. We're coming back next year, I think.
Are you?
Yeah,
Who would?
do something. To anyone who wants to come along.
Anyone mad enough?
Does anyone want a race? Could be a race if you like.
Aye, that'd be good. Make it a race. Make it a real challenge.
Race for a burger.
Prize of a burger.
Okay, Mr. McKeever. Not an in-depth interview here. And your thoughts on cycling in Iceland?
Yes, well, when I first took on the challenge, my initial thoughts were this is something which was to develop from a basic concept into a reality, and we took it on and we did it, and it's really a life-changing experience.
So, it's quite an emotional tour for you.
Yes, it was very emotional. My bum was so sore in the last 30 miles. That was quite emotional.
That's when you run out of toilet paper and you're 60 miles from the nearest WC.
Well, that's when grass becomes really important.
Gosh, I find moss is the
Of course, this will be edited for viewing.
Yes, it will.
Beep, 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 beep.
What was the most defining moment for you of the challenge?
I think it was realising that beef burgers, chips, are not very pleasant. It's not my favourite food. Chicken burgers, marginally better. Fish and chips is the best. Dried pasta meals is excellent for energy, as is porridge, muesli, with milk.
So, the defining aspect of the challenge was basically to do with food.
Yeah, well, the search for food, the preparation, the consumption, and getting rid of it. Burning it off, I mean. I mean, as we speak, we're having dinner, as you can see,
Tea, rather.
Tea and Yankee bars.
at my club,
At my club here in Keflavik.
Keflavik Gentlemen's Club, for young explorers.
Only British allowed.
Yes, of course. It helps being British when you're abroad. People treat you differently.
Yes.
They attack you.
You think, oh, he's British, oh dear. Must be a yob or something.
Yeah.